Hey Marvin,
Hi,
I was wondering if you could tell me some writing advice.
writing tricks.
Yeah.
Okay, writing tricks. Well, there's no one way to write, no right way to write. You know that. And if you write a lot, you have more to choose from. That's a trick. Uh, I think that if you do anything long enough, you get better at it. Um, Art is the big yes, so you should feel free in art since you can't be completely free in the rest of your life. And I think everybody needs something to do that they would do whether anyone paid them to do it or not.
Mm.
For some people, it's an art. For some artists, it's words. For some words, some people who do words, it's poetry. But it could be something that isn't an art. It could be running a certain number of miles every day. It could be climbing mountains, biking. It could be some kind of meditation. But everybody needs something, I think, that's attached to their inner life. And the kind of poetry that most interests me is the poetry that expresses the otherwise inexpressible. You know, in other words, you can't really, you can summarize it, but that isn't the poem. It's only an excerpt of some plot, you know. And every time you go back to a really good poem, you have what's called the shock of recognition, because it's better than you remembered. No matter how good it is, and no matter how well you've read it, how many times you read it, it's even better than you remembered when you have to go through the same steps that the writer went through and that the good reader goes through to read the poem. You know, you can't just say, oh yeah, that Beethoven symphony is about such and such. No, you have to hear the whole thing. Same thing for the best poems. Does that make sense?
That definitely makes sense. And can you share the workshop rules about surprising ourselves?
Oh, well, yeah, I think people who have a little workshop together have to make an agreement that they will surprise one another. Because your friends depend on you to be exactly the way you are every time they see you. Same language, same behavior, you know, they depend on that. But that's not good for the artist. So you have to make an agreement that you're on each other's side and that you expect to be surprised as you try different things. Again, in art, you are free. Might as well make use of that freedom, you know. First, you surprise yourself, then if you're lucky, you've surprised someone else too. But that's a bonus to be cherished. It's not where the work begins. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. And any advice for those who are graduating or going
Advice
on?
for students who are graduating. Oh my goodness. Well, it's good to have a couple of friends with whom you feel simpatico and exchange work with. I do think that the comments and the criticism that are most helpful, whether in workshops or outside of workshops, are those that point to the things that you've done interestingly, whether you've succeeded completely or not, but they're interesting. And you point to the accomplishments and say, do more of this. Maybe try to say what it is, characterize it, you know. Talking about the things that didn't go wrong, that can be helpful, but you can't learn to hit a baseball by watching someone strike out. You've got to read like a thief if you're a writer. You have to, your own originality will be an amalgam of other influences, right? Some of which won't be literary, some of which will be how your mom or dad spoke, or what you heard on the radio as you fell asleep. But other things will be what you take from other writers. You know, Eliot said, "Bad poets borrow, good poets steal."
Thank you for everything, Marvin.
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure.